Good afternoon, Britain. It is 8 minutes past 1. Now, Sir Keir Starmer's approval rating has dropped to its lowest level on record.
Yes, it comes as the government is hit with accusations of cronyism. The Prime Minister is facing rather a lot of questions over various appointments of several party loyalists to senior roles within the civil service.
And then, of course, there are the various taxes that are rumoured to be going up, the benefits that are being taken away from pensioners too. Well, this new poll shows that almost two-thirds of voters think the government is more interested in serving its own interests than those of ordinary people.
Yes, and also, according to the survey, Sir Keir's personal approval rating has now plunged to a record low of -16. That's a drop of 27 points from his post-election high of +11. So how have things turned so sour quite so quickly?
Well, we're joined now by the political commentator Jack Rowlett. Jack, thanks for joining us this afternoon. It's a pretty extraordinary drop, 27 points in just a couple of weeks for Starmer himself, and the government, an approval rating of just 23%. I mean, it beggars belief.
It does, and I think the real problem here is the lack of a clear vision from Starmer and the government. I think in general, people are willing to make sacrifices if they can see that they're in pursuit of a greater goal, if they see them as a path to a better life. And what we're seeing from the government so far is essentially a lot of negativity, although let's be honest, they have inherited a massive mess, but not a lot of vision about where they're trying to take the country. And during the general election campaign, we kind of had some hints that Labour had the right ideas about diagnosing the country's problems. They were promising planning reform, they were promising more housing and infrastructure, they were promising to fix public services, saying that Britain hadn't had enough economic growth for a very long time. And now that they're in office, we're not really hearing much about the ways that they're going to try and stimulate the British economy or improve our lives. It's all about tax rises. It's all about, what we're seeing today with a smoking ban in terms of taking away more freedoms from people, rather than any sort of positive vision of how the country is going to be improved under their leadership. So Starmer really needs to return to the vision. He really needs to set out where he wants to take the country, how he's going to improve people's lives. And there are policies that they can build that vision on. As I said, they want to build more homes. They want to build more infrastructure. They want to fix the railways, fix public services. Talk about that stuff and talk less about the failings of the Conservative government.
Yeah, Jack, at the moment, we've just been told how bad things are going to be. I mean, we've put this to our viewers and listeners, and it seems that, one, unlikable. OK, there's not that much you can do about that. A refusal to acknowledge how important immigration is as an issue for normal people. They're not all far right. Authoritarian tendencies, a perception of two-tier justice. Winter fuel allowance, the cronyism stuff is cutting through as well. A perception that he wants to clamp down on things like free speech, potential EU sellout, 11 billion to countries to spend on climate change around the world. I mean, there's quite a lot people are annoyed about.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you don't have a vision for the big picture, for the big things, then people are more likely to be annoyed about their other concerns. People are sort of more willing to say, OK, well, the government's, I care about A, B and C, and maybe the government's not getting A right, but they do have a vision for B and C. But when the government isn't presenting a vision in any of those policy areas that you just mentioned, or the vision is very much kind of more control for Westminster, less control for people's lives, when that's the vision, people are more likely to drop support for the government. They need a clear plan and a clear vision for how they can improve people's lives. And my worry is that because the choices that they're having to make long term are so difficult, that we're just going to see more of these smaller policies like the smoking ban, for example, where it's sort of the politics of we must do something. And we end up with these policies with unintended side effects that really reduce people's freedoms and that make life grayer and more miserable.
I did see one slightly conspiratorial comment from someone on Twitter earlier suggesting that this has been leaked, this smoking ban sort of policy, because it's a very divisive policy that the media loves to talk about. It means we talk less about the civil service appointments and the sort of cronyism row that is going on, a dead cat strategy. I don't know if that's a sort of trying to find too much within that story. But Jack Rowlett, for now, political commentator, I appreciate you coming on this afternoon. Thanks for your time.